Hello, everybody. Welcome to Process Modelling Workgroup. Today, we are going to review the process we have collectively created for Whitelist Workgroup. And we thought it's a nice idea to kind of present what we did, share these processes, and to have like this, have this video asset to look at to what has been created in this work group. This was our first cycle, and that's basically the final stage of the output. So what we have been using to kind of create this stuff is the Open Tab framework like research, and which started with like 3 stages. One is setting up an infrastructure, kind of getting the idea of what tools and guides and information currently workgroup has. Then we didn't go into coordination management, like how to facilitate the ideation, check-ins, and oversight. But what we did we started drafting the processes for them on the lanes of contribution lanes, or I don't know how to call them. And one main thing to notice that Whitelist workgroup processes are mainly for reference, not so much for following exact process using Tevo. So when we compare to translators workgroup, where these sticky notes showed when in what stage this task is in the Dework. And here it's more about just getting the overview of the process that could be implemented or is in use in some way or another. On the left side, you will see some color-coded sticky notes. So all the task names are red squares, extra info are all the white sticky notes, except this first task, it's white because it's not really in use, but that's like an idea of what could be in place when this onboarding method is required. Yellow sticky notes are workgroup lead or assistants, so all the kind of support tasks that goes between when the Whitelist workgroup is operating on. Then green ones are scribblers, so these are the writers themselves, and you can see they are represented in several sections in this board. Editors, who are mainly auditing and refining the articles, and then also a treasury code who will reward all of these contributions given. So starting with an invitation task that is just the reference and for the future if needed. The idea is to create a multi-submission bounty task. Then the scribbler can submit their preferred interest and experience, or provide a sample for the task. From then on, workgroup lead or assistant will schedule a meeting between onboardee or workgroup lead or assistant. And from that, they will be meet, and from that we will kind of learn. Actually, this then goes here to submit an article, and through this testing, you will either then approve or the onboardee to be a scribbler. And when the scribbler does get onboarded, the idea would have to have like an onboarding task. In current case, that's all happens kind of naturally, organically in the space, in the meetings. But what the onboardee will do is basically submit an article or create a test article, like a copywriting. And then the workgroup lead will coordinate with onboardee to either look at is this a test article and the submission good enough? If it is, then they will schedule a meeting between each other and set the due date for the draft. So there will be, okay, now I remember. So there is actually, it doesn't submit something yet, but actually they plan either the work group either chooses, does this onboardee will create this, creates an article or a test article, like either like a high level stuff or like very technical something. And from then they will schedule a call and then draft, and the scribbler will then draft the article, and in the interview they will then look at that and kind of figure out, does the onboardee want to be part of this work group, and did he like that process and the way we work. If the onboardee is qualified, then basically they will be the new scribbler, and then the onboardee will be able to start claiming the tasks that workgroup is create.
So the scribbler, if he has an article in mind, then he can create a draft and then request approval of this, and then that article will be approved in either async or in operations meetings. And then when the task gets created, it can get claimed by the scribblers. And then once it's claimed, if it gets delayed, they can be paired up for systems, or it gets reassigned. So that can also happen in operations meetings. If it needs to be reassigned or just opened up again, so someone can claim the task again.
Well, I see that also, that this fourth section is the triage, that there is an if statement, that there is a decision, and in the end the scribbles are it doesn't show that this is a different scribble, but in a high level you kind of get the idea that if rework is needed or it does get delayed, another scribbler will be either paired up or a task will be kind of released, which can be reclaimed. The main point is to get to this submit article stage and pass the proofreading.
Yes.
So in terms of making the process executable, there probably needs to be an explicit state for the article where it's ready to work on but not claimed.
Yes,
like it's approved. That looks like an activity that somebody does, not a state that the article is in.
True, but the state of article is in to do.
Okay. So what's missing is the transition from the situation where the article is delayed to being back to ready to work on.
Yeah, good point actually. Yeah, because it's here, it's like either if statement to pair up, or then I guess back to here, approve and prioritize. Like, okay, it's delayed. What do we do about it? Do we reprioritize that and approve again? And basically, this time it's not then create, but it gives the same idea. It moves to do.
What's encoded in the color of these stickies is the person who did it. So submit article is green, therefore it's a scribbler doing it.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
There's two implicit things in this diagram. One is the column, which Tevo is using as the state, and the color, which is the person.
Yeah, and I just realized this is called wrong quarter. This should be then workgroup lead, our assistant who works on the delayed article and makes a decision to either pair it up with somebody or basically reprioritize.
Yeah. After the proofreading, if it gets past the proofreading, then it goes through feedback and revisions. So suppose this is also async or maybe operations meetings. And then eventually when it goes through the final approval, then it's gonna go to publishing, and it also gets the audited tag so that it can get rewarded.
I think what we're running into is a rigidity of the process model that says the states are whatever the names of the columns are. In real world processes, it's not just in progress, in review. In this process, what we see is that there's drafting state, there's reviewing state, and there's something new that we don't have a column for, that's what we do before payout.
Yeah, that's the danger of using Dework framework.
Yeah, I think that it should alternate between proofreading and editing when like the feedback is like it's given by all of the scribblers in the comments of the Dework section, and the revisions are then made by the editor. If
or revisions could be made by the author, that could happen too.
Yeah, that's also possible.
It's actually a quality control loop, whether it's the author, the editor, or the other scribblers. It's just a quality control loop.
Right. And it could just be something that they do together on screen for 30 minutes and then it's done. Yeah, sure. Not familiar with this new diagram, but it looks like it's probably all the same material, basically. What we have in the white stickies is essentially all of the information that was already available outside the process. So we got a list of articles, anything that the work group wants to raise as awareness of the work group's activities, a list of any metrics that the work group is tracking, and then in the yellow sticky, they would collect all this information and prepare that for a newsletter or for any other update and sharing about what the work group is doing. And those can also be posted, of course, back to Discord. Oh, it looks like the point about the meeting summaries is that each meeting would also be posted like weekly to the summary channel. And that's another output of the reporting process, but separate from the big picture aggregation. And so then once these information have been collected, then it'll be published. And
right now there actually is no newsletter, so it's actually maybe even harder to estimate what happens there. What would that be, editor role?
Yeah, there is no newsletter, and I don't know where that came in. I know Kenichi was talking about doing one. This process started as a methodology of best practices on getting an article out. So this complicates it a little.
So what we recognized as we looked at that process is that there was not a process that had been recognized for exposing the results of the working group. So we just made something lightweight to represent that, and kind of took that idea that was already pending of having a newsletter and developed it a little bit more, as you see.
Got it. Good call.
Another thing we don't really see from this process is that are these workgroup leads or assistants different? Like it may look like it's one person, but it could be two different people in different stages. But it's hard to, without color coding another assistant, it won't be able to differentiate that. So perhaps if we simply change the color to orange and say that that's another workgroup lead, would that make it more? Then we have this review basically stage, and it's not like one person doing the thing and reviewing it. Although for the in other side, it could actually be a good process for just one person. So yeah, you do your thing, but you also review your thing. But at least that there is that kind of minimal draft what you could do alone in order to get material and share it.
In a decentralized environment, doing something completely alone without any feedback loop from a second party doesn't feel like it's providing the kind of assurances that you would expect in a decentralized organization.
Another thing here is when this activity happens, the review may not be in this process, but because it is using Dework Task, it is using monthly activity list, it means the Treasury Guild will have the view on that. The workgroup leads will know where the funds are going because these are drawing funds, these activities from the Treasury, and publishing information and sharing it assumes that these are already like share updates in Ambassador Home, so that they are in public domain where feedback is gathered. Now there are two new processes, and we have Slate here. He created the publishing task.
Yeah, so in the publication phase of the article, I actually discussed a bit the events taking place during the publication phase and a little bit before it. And it starts from the under review phase in the dework section, and then the proofreading phase is done in the under review phase, in which the editor proofreads the article, and then it's paused, and then it's again reviewed by the workgroup lead, and then it is marked as the completed article. Then the workgroup lead or assistants add the article's author name in the article if it's going to be published, and and over here I have to explain this. Like the trending topic article over here is actually written because there are two types of article that are being selected now. One, the article which is the dework task, which is created by the workgroup lead, and the topic given by the workgroup lead is kind of the trending topic article. And the articles which are like an idea pop up in the scribbler's mind, and he goes to the workgroup lead, and then and he tells the workgroup lead that this is the topic in which I want to write, and it's related to the Singularity Net, and then he creates the task. That is not a trending article. So over here, this is what that means. Okay, and if it's an article that is assigned to the scribbler by the workgroup lead, then it goes after the completion of that article. It goes to the creating or an ideation phase of the tweets, which is either done by a scribbler or an editor. Okay. And if it's not a trending article, then it's just when the article is completed and the review is done, then the rewards are put and the tag audited is put in the dework section, and the scribbler are rewarded by the Treasury Guild. And if it's a trending topic article, then after the curation of tweets by the scribbler and the editor, the tweet thread is sent to the workgroup lead, and then the workgroup lead publish those tweets from the tweet deck and also the article with the author name on it, and the proof of the article is on the medium.
Okay, let me see if I can get all this stuff. Yeah, this is, as Randall said, this is a decentralized process and meant to be a grassroots work group scenario. So all of the work to get an article is above the meeting ops in the column. So all basically ops, if that's Kenichi or whoever is running a work group, does the approval and then has the authority to assign the D work, to actually pull the trigger on the D work task and assign it if it has an assignable author, or to put it out as a D work task if it's open for authors to bid on it, writers or scribblers to bid on it. After it goes through all the other processes, okay, it comes to the article has been published or the D work is approved. And then the handoff at the end of the ops is it goes into the D work process, the audit, the approval, and payment. I tried to keep it fairly straightforward and taking it off of all the work that's being done by the other sections.
One
Question.
thing that I see as in what exists already on the Dework also is the meeting participation. And I think that also then goes to the same way that the article, like the work group lead creates these participations and assigns them to the task. Or is there that there is a task and everybody themselves assign on them? How is that meeting captured?
Well, it could be done either way. I've seen, and I'll use a real life example with the video work group, where Rojo has had proposals presented, and he assigns, after the community approves, he assigns it to a particular video editor. He also has put up tasks and left it open for either bidding or people to ask to handle it. So it could be done either way. And I think the articles at this point in the writing work group are more of an assignment basis, not on a open D work task.
All right, and that was then a general overview of how meetings are operating. And yeah, like you mentioned before, like the changes that were made were quite drastic, and that's why I left out also the previous version just to ponder on it. And but for now, I will now stop recording. You have all seen the processes that we created through this few short weeks, and I think that was a lot of content that we were able to pull out in quite short of time. And I thank you for participating. And so for the rest of you from the YouTube, next Process Modeling Workgroup will happen next week, same time. And then we come back to the planning and internal housekeeping. Thanks for watching. See you out there.